Raymond, Washington, a sleepy coastal town where secrets settle like the morning fog. The Knotek house sat just off a rural road, an unassuming 2-story home with weathered siding and a porch that creaked with every step. There were wind chimes at the front, children's toys in the yard, and from the outside it looked like any other small town family home. But inside, it was a prison, a house of horrors disguised as maternal care. And the warden? She had curly hair, warm eyes, and a voice that could turn from honey to hell in seconds. To her daughters, she was mom. To her victims, she was a savior at first. But to the people who would later try to piece together what happened behind those walls, she was something else entirely. Welcome to GBR Life Transmissions. I'm your host, Caitlin, and you're listening to GBR Life of Crimes, where we explore not just what happened in crimes committed by women, but why they happened and the psychology behind them. Today, we're diving into the terrifying case of Shelly Knotek, a woman who didn't need a weapon to destroy lives. She used guilt, she used love, and she used control so deeply embedded in her victims' minds, they didn't even know they were being tortured. This is the story of how a mother turned her home into a psychological graveyard, and how those who trusted her the most paid the ultimate price. Shelly Knotek was born in 1954 in Washington state. By all accounts, her early life was marked by instability. Her mother left when she was young, and her father struggled to raise 4 children alone, so he passed Shelly around between relatives. It's said that she learned early that affection was currency, and manipulation was survival. But what started as attention-seeking behavior in childhood grew into something darker. She told lies constantly, elaborate, dramatic stories to win sympathy or stir chaos. She told friends her father harmed her, only to later admit it wasn't true. She faked illnesses, injuries, even hospitalizations. But instead of fading with time, her lies matured alongside her. And, of course, she married young. Had her first daughter, Nikki, by age 20. And when her second and third daughters, Sammy and Tori, came along in later years, Shelley had settled into a very specific version of motherhood, the kind where love comes with a leash. She used affection like a weapon, dishing it out and yanking it away whenever it suited her mood. And her moods? Unpredictable, explosive, cruel. She married David Knotek in 1987, a quiet, reserved man who worked in construction. And while he didn't seem to share her volatility, he didn't stop it either. Together, they created a facade of a close-knit, working-class family. But behind closed doors, Shelley's darkness really deepened. The Knotek home became a revolving door for vulnerable people. She took people in, offering them a place to stay, promising safety, warmth, and family. But what she really offered was abuse. Her victims weren't strangers. They were people who loved her, and she used that love to break them. Let's start with Kathy Loreno. Kathy was a longtime friend of Shelley's, a hairdresser, outgoing, warm, and kind. In 1991, Kathy lost her job and needed help, so Shelley offered her a place to stay. Kathy moved in and vanished from the public eye, and what happened next is actually difficult to stomach. Shelley began disciplining Kathy under the guise of tough love. She forced her to do chores unclothed, starved her, beat her, locked her in the laundry room. And when Kathy finally collapsed from organ failure, Shelley did not call the ambulance, and she didn't alert authorities. She and David burned her body in the backyard. They told everyone Kathy had run off with a trucker. The truth stayed buried, literally, for years. But Kathy wasn't the only one. Shane Watson, who was Shelley's nephew, was next. After his father died by self-harm, Shane moved in with the Knoteks. He was 13. At first, it was fine until it wasn't. Shelley isolated him, harmed him, made him do endless labor. Then one day, Shane discovered something horrifying. He found a stack of photographs that Shelley had taken. It was of Kathy. She was covered in bruises, lying on the floor and clearly in distress. And Shane confided in a friend. But Shelley found out, and she panicked. And just like that, Shane disappeared. Shelley told the girls he had gone to Alaska, But later, David would admit the truth. Shelley ordered him to harm Shane, and he obeyed. After he harmed Shane, they again burned the body, and then they scattered the ashes into the ocean. Still, it didn't stop there. In 2001, Shelley took in another vulnerable soul, Ron Woodworth, a gentle, kind-hearted man battling addiction and depression. Shelley promised to help him get clean. Instead, she tortured him. She forced him to drink his own urine. She made him bathe in bleach, beat him, humiliated him. Eventually, Ron couldn't walk, couldn't speak, and when he passed away, Shelley did what she always did. She and David burned the body and made up another lie. Ron had moved to California. So how did this all finally unravel? Because her daughters, Nikki, Sammy, and Tori, started putting the pieces together. They'd seen the abuse. They endured it themselves. But when they were old enough, they started talking. And in 2003, 14-year-old Tori told a trusted adult what happened to Ron. So police opened an investigation. And it didn't take long for the lies to collapse. David cracked. He admitted to disposing of the bodies, told investigators where they had been burned, and eventually Shelley was arrested. But what kind of a woman does this? What kind of a mother? First and foremost, a pathological narcissist, because Shelley needed to control like most people needed oxygen. She believed her cruelty was justified because she was teaching lessons, helping people. They were bettering themselves. So it wasn't abuse. In her mind, it was tough love. But then there's also the coercive sadism. She didn't just hurt people. She enjoyed it. The manipulation, the mind games, making people beg for her approval, even as she broke them down. And then there's the complicit dependency, because David Knotek didn't initiate the abuse, but he did enable it. And psychologists call this acquiescent complicity. When someone is so emotionally dominated, they serve a moral compass. David later said, "If I didn't do what she said, she would have hurt me too." But that does not make him innocent. And in 2004, Shelley was sentenced to 22 years in prison for manslaughter and torture of her victims. David was sentenced to 15 years for murder and unlawful disposal of human remains. But here's the part that still sends chills. Shelley was released in 2022. She's free after destroying multiple lives. Her daughters, can you imagine what they really saw? They're clearly still healing. Her community is still haunted because this wasn't just a crime of passion. It wasn't a moment of weakness. It was sustained, systematic abuse inflicted over years, and all of it done under the mask of motherhood. This has been GBRLIFE of Crimes, part of GBRLIFE Transmissions, and I'm Caitlin, reminding you that understanding the darkness helps us appreciate the light. Join me next time as we uncover another case that challenges everything we thought we knew about the criminal mind.